On the seventh day after that, two things happened. In the morning, the servants left together, their belongings tied in square cotton kerchiefs. When Hannah got up in the morning, nothing was done. The house not cleaned, and the food not prepared. And she knew what it meant. She was dismayed and even terrified. But her pride as a mistress would not allow her to show it. Instead, she inclined her head gracefully when they appeared before her in the kitchen, and she paid them off and thanked them for all that they had done for her. They were crying, but she did not cry. The cook and the gardener had served Sadao since he was a little boy in his father's house. And Yumi cried because of the children. She was so grieving that after she had gone, she ran back to Hannah. If the baby misses me too much tonight, send for me. I am going to my own house, and you know where it is. Thank you, Hannah said, smiling. But she told herself she would not send for Yumi, however the baby cried. She made the breakfast, and Sadao helped with the children. Neither of them spoke of the servants beyond the fact that they were gone. But after Hannah had taken morning food to the prisoner, she came back to Sadao. Why is it we cannot see clearly what we ought to do? She asked him. Even the servants see more clearly than we do. Why are we different from other Japanese? Sadao did not answer, but a little later he went into the room where the prisoner was and said brusquely, "Today you may get up on your feet. I want you to stay up only 5 minutes at a time. Tomorrow you may try it twice as long. It would be well that you get back your strength as quickly as possible." He saw the flicker of terror on the young face that was still very pale. "Okay," the boy murmured. Evidently, he was determined to say more. "I feel I ought to thank you, doctor, for having saved my life." "Don't thank me too early," Sadao said coldly. He saw the flicker of terror again in the boy's eyes. Terror as unmistakable as an animal's. The scar on his neck were crimson for a moment. Those scars, what were they? Sadao did not ask. So Sadao did not send the letter. In fact, he did not finish the letter. So now that he did not send any information to the Japanese authority about the American prisoner in his house, certain changes appeared in the house. A week later, all the servants decided to leave, all right, because they were afraid. They were not happy with the decision that the master was treating an American soldier from the beginning itself. They believed in curses, right? They believed in the curse of the sea. They believed in the curse of the rock. Moreover, they simply believed that they are Japanese, and since they are at war with America, they should not be helping an American. And so they decided to leave, all right? And one morning when Hannah woke up, nothing was done. Nothing was done in the house. The food was not cooked. The house was not cleaned. The gardener and the cook, they started crying, all right, because they had been serving Sadao since he was a very small boy. And then Yumi, the girl who was taking care of the children, she cried because she could not think about leaving the children alone. But Hannah did not cry. Neither did she ask for any explanation, nor did she scold the servants. She simply paid the money that was owed to them. All right, the salary. Thereafter, Yumi said that, "If tonight the baby cries for me, please send for me. I'll come. I'll at my own house." But Hannah had decided that I will not ask for Yumi, no matter how much the baby cries. All right, I am not asked for her help at all. And so that evening, Hannah prepared the food herself And she and Sadao were having a conversation, and she confronted Sadao. She said, see, whatever the servants did, we cannot blame them. They did the right thing. All right? They see the right thing which we do not. We as a Japanese should not be helping an enemy soldier. Simple as that. And yet, we are unable to see that simple fact which our servants can see very clearly. But Sadao did not answer. He was busy. He went to see the prisoner and he started talking to him. He said, from today you can stand up for 5 minutes at a time, which means that the prisoner is improving by leaps and bounds. Before he was bleeding, he was unconscious. Now he is able to stand, and Sadao says you can start standing up 5 minutes at a time. And he could see that the prisoner wanted to talk to him. He said, thank you so much for saving me. And Sadao replied coldly, without any emotion. He said, you don't need to thank me yet. Which sort of hinted that once you are well, I'll hand you over to the authorities. And so that young American soldier, his fear could be seen on his face, And the marks which were there on the neck, it turned red for a while. And Sadao did not ask, but then he did wonder, what is that mark, How did he get that mark? Was he tortured when he was being held prisoner by the Japanese? In the afternoon, the second thing happened. So first thing that happened was servants left the service. Now in the afternoon, another thing happened. Hannah, working hard on accustomed labor, saw a messenger come to the door in official uniform. Her hands went weak and she could not draw her breath. The servants must have told already. She ran to Sadao, gasping, unable to utter a word. But by then the messenger had simply followed her through the garden, and there she stood. She pointed at him helplessly. Sadao looked up from his book. He was in his office, the other partition of which was thrown open to the garden for the southern sunshine. What is it? He asked the messenger. And then he rose, seeing the man's uniform. You are to come to the palace, the man said. The general is in pain again. Oh, Hannah breathed. Is that all? All? The messenger exclaimed. Is it not enough? Indeed it is, she replied. I'm very sorry. When Sadao came to say goodbye, she was in the kitchen, but doing nothing. The children were asleep, and she sat merely resting for a moment, more exhausted from her fright than from work. So, the very afternoon that the servants had left, an official man came to their house in uniform. And Hannah was frightened. She thought the servants have told the authorities that we are keeping an American prisoner at our house. So she started running towards Sadao without any explanation, and the man simply followed. When they reached Sadao, the matter was disclosed. Sadao wasn't shocked or frightened. He simply said, what are you here for? And the messenger replied that, you are to come to the palace. Our general is not feeling well. Now, Hannah had thought that he had come to arrest Sadao, So she felt relieved and she said, is that all? And the messenger was surprised. What do you mean, is that all? Our general is in pain. Isn't that reason enough? And Hannah says, I'm sorry, It is reason enough. So now Sadao got ready to go meet the general. And when he went to say goodbye to Hannah, he saw that Hannah was in the kitchen exhausted. The children, she was exhausted, not from work, which she was also not accustomed to, but more from the fright and the emotion that she had gone through the entire length of the day. I thought they had come to arrest you, she said. He gazed down into her anxious eyes. I must get rid of this man for your sake, he said in distress. Somehow, I must get rid of him. So Hannah said, I thought they had come to get you. That is why I'm so afraid. And when Sadao saw Hannah's condition, all frightened, all tensed up, suffering from anxiety, he said, for your sake, I must get rid of this man, this American prisoner. This man is taking too much of your thought, which is having a bad effect on your health. I have to think of a way to get rid of him. So Sadao now goes to see the general, and he is now having a conversation with General Takima. Of course, the general said weakly, I understand fully, but that is because I once took a degree in Princeton. So few Japanese have. I care nothing for the man, Excellency, Sadao said, but having operated on him with such success, yes, the general said, it only makes me feel you more indispensable to me. Evidently, you can save anyone. You are so skilled. You say you think I can stand one more such attack as I have had today? Not more than one, Sadao said. So it seems Sadao has confessed to the general, all right, whatever has happened, that how the prisoner came ashore, how he was treating him. So now the general says, I understand your position, all right, because even I was educated in the America. So I understand the emotional state that you went through, the reason why you wanted to save this man. And then Sadao said, please understand that I don't care anything for this man. He is my enemy. But the operation was so successful, all right? He was about to die and I was able to save him. And the operation was so successful that I had to continue. And the general says, yes, this just shows the kind of skill that you possess. If you can save an enemy, you can save a friend no matter what. So which means you are indispensable to me, all right? So General Takima has had a heart attack. So he needs the best surgeon for surgery, and as we know, Sadao is the best. That is why he wasn't sent into the war. So he said, the fact that you saved an enemy soldier, I have to keep you alive. Because if you can save him, you can surely save me. So now you are telling me I cannot survive one more attack. And Sadao says, yes, one more attack and you won't survive it. All right, you have had multiple attacks maybe. So one more attack and that is it. Then certainly I can allow nothing to happen to you, the general said with anxiety. His long, pale Japanese face became expressionless, which meant that he was in deep thought. You cannot be arrested, the general said, closing his eyes. Suppose you were condemned to death, and the next day I had to have my operation. There are other surgeons, Excellency, Sadao suggested. None I trust, the general replied. The best ones have been trained by Germans and would consider operation successful even if I died. I do not care for their point of view, he sighed. It seems a pity that we cannot better combine the German ruthlessness with the American sentimentality. Then you could turn your prisoner over to execution, and yet I could be sure you would not murder me while I was unconscious. The general laughed. He had an unusual sense of humor. As a Japanese, could you not combine these two foreign elements? He asked. Sadao smiled. I'm not quite sure, he said, but for your sake, I would be willing to try, Excellency. The general shook his head. I had rather not be the test case. He felt suddenly weak and overwhelmed with the care of his life as an official in times such as these, when repeated victory brought great responsibilities all over the South Pacific. It is very unfortunate that this man should have washed up on your doorstep, he said irritably. I feel it so myself, Sadao said gently. It would be best if he could be killed quietly, the general said. Not by you, but by someone who does not know him. I have my own private assassins. Suppose I send 2 of them to your house tonight, or better, any night. You need know nothing about it. It is now warm. What would be more natural than that you should leave the other partition of the white man's room open to the garden while he sleeps? Certainly, it would be very natural. Sadao agreed. In fact, it is so left open every night. Good, the general said, yawning. They are very capable assassins. They make no noise. And they know the trick of inward bleeding. If you like, I can have them remove the body. Sadao considered that perhaps would be best. Excellency, he agreed, thinking of Hannah. He left the general's presence and then went home, thinking over the plan. In this way, the whole thing would be taken out of his hands. He would tell Hannah nothing, since she would be timid at the idea of assassins in the house, and yet certainly such persons were essential in an absolute state such as Japan was. How else could rulers deal with those who opposed them? So, now the general cannot punish Sadao. He said, if I punish you for saving an enemy soldier and you are executed, and supposedly the next day I need my operation, who will save me? And Sadao said, but we have other surgeons. And the general doesn't agree. He said, yes, we have other surgeons, but those were trained by the Germans. They are ruthless. They do not have human sentimental value. They would consider the operation successful even if I died. All right? I want someone who takes pride in his work, who takes pride in the fact that he can save my life, and that is you. All right? That is you. And that is why I will not be able to punish you. If only you could combine the two, all right? So he is coming up with a plan. He says, can you be ruthless like the Germans and sentimental like the Americans, or combination of both? And Sadao said, but I don't understand. And he says, let me take care of your problem. All right, I have private assassins. Assassins are trained killers. I will send them to your house tonight. Not tonight, any night. You won't even know when they come. All right, they will come to your house, kill the prisoner. The prisoner won't even bleed outside because they know the trick of inward bleeding. Thereafter, they will take care of the body as well. Since it is summer, just leave a partition of, like Japanese, they have the slider doors and all, right? So leave one partition open towards the garden so that the assassins may come. And Sadao says, fine. In fact, the partition is left open every night. So General says, fine then. Your problem will be solved. I will send my private assassins. It will be taken care of, and it will be as if you never gave shelter to any American prisoner, all right? Since I need you, I cannot punish you. And Sadao agrees. He says, fine, all right? I agree to your wishes, Excellency. And then he leaves the palace. And along the way, he's thinking that I will not tell Hannah about this plan because she will be afraid of the fact that assassins are coming inside the house. Once they take care of the body, then she needn't worry about it also. I'll just tell them that he escaped whatever reason, all right? But at least the problem will be solved and she will be able to go back to her normal life, fine? So we'll stop here and we'll continue in the next class.